Well, I'm back. My grandmaster Steve gave me a call, so I was trying to answer his call and go live at the same time. So look, I apologize. I had to cut it. He had some very important information he wanted to share with me, so I had to do that. So I definitely want to invite everybody that's coming on right now to the show. It's going to be interesting tonight. The show is in regards to PHO. Prince Hall origin. I mean, a lot of people talk about Prince Hall, but you must, before we talk about Black Masonry, period, we must speak about Prince Hall origin. Okay, PHO. And let me say it to you this way. Before there was anything in Freemasonry, there was colored masonry. Ancient, free, York Rite Freemasonry. Ancient, free, York Rite Masonry. That's what it was. Ancient, free, York Rite Masonry. I know a lot of us sometimes like to talk about the different historical points of views, but let me clear the air. And I'm going to share some very important information with you and documents that I have personally that you can actually go and research for yourself and find out for yourself in regards to where I got the information from, and then you can read and then you can further your research and see what you come up with. You don't necessarily have to take my word for it, but let me say this. Before we talk about Prince Hall, PHA, or John G. Jones International, anybody else, we must first discuss PHO, Prince Hall origin, okay? Colored Mason, ancient free York Masons, okay? Ancient free York Masons. Before we do anything, all right? So, let's start off at the beginning, all right? And if you feel the need to call in tonight, you can certainly do that because my phone got a little power tonight. So we're at 619, okay? 985-1184. If you want to call in tonight and discuss this even further, I have information that you might want to get a look at. And you might want to contact PHO themselves because they still exist. Anybody that tells you that PHO doesn't exist is lying to you. They may not be as big as they once were, but they still exist. This does not take away from their history, their origin, or who they are. They exist, okay? They existed long before the PHA, the John G. Jones, the International Modern Freeze. PHO, Prince Hall origin. Let's remember that, okay? Let's get a grip on how did we get to where we're at right now. Okay, let's get a grip on that because many people have various ideas of how we got to where we at right now, and they would say, well, this. I employ each person to do their own research, to come up with documents of their own, and just to really indulge themselves and to find out for themselves, hey, how did we get here? You know, and then you won't have to question anything else. So tonight, Brother Jackson, I sure hope you online tonight for my administrator. I sure hope you online, brother. And I'm on pretty early. So it's about maybe 5:40 on the West Coast, and it's got to be at least 9 something on the East Coast. So I'm not going to hold you long. But before I get started, I want to say for those of you who are tuning into the show, thank you. And I appreciate you for doing just that. And to my administrator, Steve Michael Jackson, thank you for, I see that you just popped on. Greetings, and I definitely want you to take control. I don't need any trolls tonight, okay? So if Eddie pops in tonight, he has to go. I don't need no trolls, body popping in, this and that. I invited Brother Christopher L. Bachelor to come on tonight. I feel that he's a person of interest when it comes to PHO and their history. He's that individual. I respect him in regards to that. So I wanted him to come on tonight. I've contacted Brother Brian, also who's a member of PHO, and to come on tonight. But I haven't heard back from Brian, but Brother Belcher did say that, you know, it was going to be kind of late on his end. So he's not going to be really able to tune in or to give comment. And I definitely want to hear what he had to say versus the information I have, because I would tell you that as much as I agree to disagree with Brother Belcher sometime on some things, the brother is definitely a good historian, and when it comes to his organization, to me, he's that it factor. I'll give him that respect. And to go on to say that HO still exists. And I'm going to share this with you before I go any further. I'm just going to give you a little lineage on that to show you that they still exist. And if Brother Belcher ever comes on and wants to discuss it any further, he certainly can. So let's discuss the National Grand Lodge, the National Compact of Grand Lodges, as it once was known, okay? And let me tell you why. All black Masons was part of the National Compact of Freemasonry, period. All. There was no John G. Jones, there was no PHA, and the National Modern Free. I'm going back to the year 1847, okay? Let's go back to the year 1847. Then I'm going to give you a rundown of the National Grand Masters, okay? So nobody won't think that they still does not exist. All right, so just bear with me as you will, because sometimes we get so tied up and be like, no, they don't exist. PHO, they once, the National doesn't exist because once as we know, PHA left, those independent Grand Lodges left, we feel that they no longer exist, and that is a lie. PHO exists, okay? Now, let me give you this information. As far as past Grand Masters of the national, what we call National Grand Masters under the National Compact of Grand Lodges. First of all, I'm going to start off with John T. Hill. Then I'm going to start off with, I want to pronounce this right, that is Endos, E-N-O-S-H Hill, William A. Duran, William H. Raleigh, Paul Dryden, Richard A. Galvin. Okay? Now, I'm going to give you the years. John T. Hilton was from 1847 to 1850. All right? This is under the first National Grand Master. Then Endos, E-N-O-S-H Hill, was from 1850 to 1856. He was from Massachusetts. William A. Duran, D-A-R-N-E-S, 1856 to 1859. He was from Ohio. Then we have William H. Raleigh, 1859 to 1862, Pennsylvania. Then we have Paul Dryden, D-R-A-Y-T-O-N, from 1862 to 1865. He was from New York. Then we have Richard H. Given. I'm mispronouncing his word, but I'm going to give you the correct spelling. G-L-E-A-V-E-S, 1856 to 1877, Ohio. Now, they say after 1877, the National Compact was supposed to have closed down. They did not close down. Hear me clearly. After 1877, the National Compact did not close down. The National Compact still exists today. I just read to you the 2, 4, 6 names all the way up to 1877. Now, at 1847, at the National Compact, a discourse came up, okay? 1847, a discourse happened, all right? This discourse where Grand Lodges felt that they need to be independent from the National. Now, understand me, let me break this down to you. The National Grand Lodge issued charters to all Grand Lodges, period. That's what they did. That's what they did. The National Grand Lodges issued charters to Grand Lodges. That's a fact. They did that. Okay? Those Grand Lodges that left and became independent Grand Lodges, when they left the National, they left with their charters that they took from the National. That's where you get PHA. Period. Before there was PHA, you only had the National. I'm talking about for all Black Masons, period. Now, check this out. So, in 1877 to 1886, you had George W. Levers, all right? He's from Tennessee. After which you get William D. Matthews. Now, William D. Matthews, now he's the main figure. I mean, the it factor when it comes to PHO. He's that guy. Because what he did was, after the discourse in 1877, he said, look, for all of you Grand Lodges that left, if you do not come back to the National, you are considered clandestine. Hear me clearly. William D. Matthews was a hell of a guy. He said, look, the National still exists. We are the it factor. If you who left do not come back, you are considered clandestine. If I'm wrong, somebody need to say something. I would love to have Brother Christopher Belcher on tonight, and so he can help me or say, no, Hawkins, you're kind of wrong in that. I can work with that, but I'm going based on the information that I have before me. Okay, so after William D. Matthews, he served as the National Grand Master from 1886 to 1906. Okay, and he was from Kansas. After that, you had Reverend A.B. Allen, 1906 to 1909. He was from Georgia. Bishop J.W. Alstock, 1909 to 1920, Alabama. Dr. A.R. Robinson, he served as a National Grand Master from 1920 1922, Pennsylvania. S.S. Simmons, he served from 1922 to 1941, Georgia. T.H. I think that's Pinckney, Pinkeny. He served from 1941 to 1942, South Carolina. Dr. W.L. Turner served from 1942 to 1952, Alabama. Midford, South Virgil. Midford S. Virgil. I said South. His name is Midford South S. Midford S. Virgil. He was from 1952 to 1963, Missouri. Matthew Brock served from 1963 to 1975, Ohio. James R. Harrison, 1975 to 1976, West Virginia. Then we have Jefferson D. Tufts, Tufts, served from 1976 to 1990, Ohio. Oscar Mack served from 1990 to 1996, South Carolina. Norman A. Woodrow served from 1996 to 2002 from Georgia. And then you have Fenton N. Ferguson served from 2002 to 2008, Delaware. This is their lineage. This is their whole history. See, we could talk about PHA, PHO, John G. Jones International, but this is a complete list of names who served as the National Grand Masters for the National Compact of Grand Lodges. It's there. It's there for you to look at. So, for those of you who do not believe me and think I'm just reading off something, here are the names right here. I don't know if I can. Here's the names right here. Yes, it's in a book. Yes, it's certainly in a book, okay? It's not something that I'm just reading off the top of my head. This is a book that has a whole lot of information in it. I'm just sharing that with you. And they have in this book is a complete history of where they met at and when they met. So for anybody to come and say that PHO does not exist, that they had a break in their lineage, is lying to you. Okay? Plain and simple. They're the it factor. We all come from PHO, let the truth be known. I mean, I'm not ashamed to say it. And let me keep it real with you. See, Brother William D. Matthews and John G. Jones did not meet eye to eye. They did not like each other at all. Because in that same year, 1877, at that national convention, John G. Jones' affiliation was organized. Hear me clearly. In 1877, John G. Jones affiliation was organized. You want to know where you can find that information at? You can find that information in the Core's Masonic Encyclopedia 1961. You can look on page 439 and find that in 1877, John G. Jones affiliation was organized. Mind you, at that same time, Grand Lodges was breaking off, forming their own independent state. Okay, now let's see what they say in this Core's Masonic Encyclopedia. Page 439 is a 1961 version. Okay, now at the bottom of this page, this is what they say. They said the National Grand Lodge of 1847. Various Grand Lodges withdrew and some was expelled. Therefore, in 1849, the agreement among the independent state Grand Lodges to maintain fraternal relationships without a relation of sovereign body are set forth in the appending to Davis above mentioned in his works in page 272 to 288. In the appendix on page 109 and page 110, it clearly states this. The National Compact of Grand Lodge held its final meeting May 16, 1877. But subsequently, showing that bodies have showing that they had 27 Grand Lodges in various states. They had 27 states that did not leave. Okay, 27 states stayed with that body, though the names are not given. But there was 27 states that stayed. And it goes on to say that to these names must be added a group called John G. Jones Affiliation, named for their founder, a Chicago lawyer of color. It is commonly supposed that these three bodies made up the bulk of Black Masonry. This book was written in 1961, and it's in there. They say Negro Masonry. They don't say Black Masonry. They don't say Prince Hall, PHA Masonry. They say Negro Masonry. So you know in the 60s they called you Negroes. Called us Negroes. I was born in the 60s. Okay, so let's just be honest with it. Then, okay, so this is in that book, and I highlighted it. It's right there in this book right here. I highlighted it. Okay. So nobody won't be saying, well, where's he getting this information at? All right. Now, I'm going to go ahead and share some other stuff with you to show you that the National Grand Lodges continue to exist today. Now, like I said before, they're not as big as they used to, but they still exist. This takes nothing from their history or who they are. All right. So now let's go to 1824, January the 5th. Why is that day so special? Why is that day so interesting? That day is so interesting because there was 2 letters written to the Grand Lodge of England. 2 letters that was written. We all know about the first letter, the second letter. The second letter was written in 1827 by Brother John T. Hilton. We all know about that one. But what about the first one that was written 3 years before that? 3 years before the 1827 letter that was written to England, there was one written to England in 1824. That letter was written by Simon H. Moody, the Worcester Master. Simon H. Moody written that letter to the Grand Lodge of England. So you would like to know what the letter says, right? I'm just saying what you like to know what the letter says. What's the name of that book? So I have 2 books. The first book I have, you're not going to be able to find this book, but this book right here is the bomb. Okay, this book right here is the bomb. All right? This book is called LeTroy Fremo. LeTroy Fremo is the name of this book, okay? That's the name of the book, LeTroy Fremo. Hold on just a second. I might have a caller on the line. Hello? I'm all right. Who am I? Hey, this is Chris. Oh, you. I got Chris on the line. Hold on just a second. I'm gonna put you on speaker. All right. All right, brother Chris. I think I have the number one person when it comes to Prince Hall lineage history. Besides John Harrison, I say that Chris is right there with him. This is my own personal opinion. You can take it or let it alone. So, brother Belgian, talk to me.
Oh, you flatter me. I was just listening. I thought the show was going to be broadcast on last night. So you said
Yeah, bro, I got tired though. Look, I worked too, bro, and I got tired when I came home. So I had to go on earlier tonight. So go ahead, talk to me.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to be long. I just want to listen to everything that's going on. With regards to just the terminology itself, PHA or PHO or anything, those particular, I guess, terms are they're modern day terms. They're
Correct.
not terms that were used to refer to what an affiliation was during the time that you're speaking of.
Okay.
PHO was a term that Captain William D. Matthews kind of coined around 1897. Of course, that's after 1888 when the manifesto came out and everything goes along with that. PHA, that a lot of my Prince Hall affiliated brothers do not know or have not been informed on. The term PHA was not instituted per se until 1944.
I'm gonna do one better. I'm gonna do one better for you, Chris. Hold on just a second. I'm gonna do one better for you. I have it right here, as a matter of fact. Oh, I apologize. You are right. January 1944 is the year of PHA as we know it today. Go ahead. My apologies.
Right. And I think the other thing that people need to know is information surrounding the issues that brought about the National Grand Lodge. At that time, around 1847, there were 3 Grand Lodges. You had of course, African Grand Lodge of Massachusetts. You had First Independent Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania. Both with lineage, they had lineage to African Lodge 459. And you had Hiram Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania. Hiram Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania was a group of lodges that split from First Independent African Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania, and they established Grand Lodge. During that time, there was a war between Hiram Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania and First Independent African Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania. They were born. They were established in lodges, New Jersey, Maryland, District of Columbia, Ohio, New York.
Absolutely,
and so they were warring. So John T. Hilton came up with the plan to, I guess, heal those wounds and kind of become unified at the same time. And that's what formed the National Grand Lodge.
Yep.
All right. But what people don't understand is this. Once the National Grand Lodge was established in 1847, there was another meeting that happened later in that year. The original meeting happened in June, and then the later meeting happened closer to December. And what happened is this, okay? All the lodges and Grand Lodges had to be reorganized to fit the construct of the National Grand Lodge. So this is what John T. Hilton did. He closed, and most people don't know this, he closed African Lodge 459.
Okay, he did, yes.
He split those lodges into 3 lodges. And when he split those lodges into 3 lodges, they established a Grand Lodge. That Grand Lodge is what we now call the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Massachusetts.
But see, time out.
Yeah.
But see, most people don't know that in order to be a part of the National Grand Lodge, that had to happen. Am I on the right track?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
The second thing that he did, you had Hiram Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania, and you had First Independent African Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania as well. And what they did there is they merged them. And the merger of those two Grand Lodges established what is called the Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania Free and Accepted Ancient York Masons.
Right.
Now, that Grand Lodge, and okay, it's debatable however you want to play it with Pennsylvania history, but that Grand Lodge still exists to this day under the National Grand Lodge. Now, PHA will tell you that it doesn't exist because they merged away in 1881, but that was only maybe 50-50 of the lodges in that Grand Lodge left to go PHA. The other half stayed. So that was what happened. And once they did that, all of the lodges that Hiram Grand Lodge and First Independent Grand Lodge established, they brought all those lodges. Like, let's say in New York, this is a good one. In New York, you had maybe 3 lodges or more, and you had one lodge that was a Boyer Lodge of New York, which was established by African Grand Lodge.
Excuse me, just a second. For those who are just coming on to the show tonight, this discussion is about PHO, Prince Hall origin. I just want them to know that before we had anything, we had the National Grand Lodge of Compact Free Masonry. So before you can call PHA the It Factor or John G. Jones or anybody else, this is what we have. Tonight I have on the phone with me right now is Brother Christopher Belcher from Atlanta. And like I said before, I think that he's a very great historian in the fact of knowing the PHO history and how that all came into factor. And he's now talking. So I just wanted everybody to kind of who's coming on tonight to understand what the show is about, because I'm broadcasting live from 2 different venues. One is from my Facebook Live, John G. Jones. And then the other one is from John G. Jones Research Lodge number 147. So if you didn't know what the show is about, that's what we are talking about tonight. Brother Christopher, you may go ahead. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Thank you very much. The thing that I was talking about, like in New York, you had Boyer Lodge, which was established by African Grand Lodge. You had a couple of other lodges that was established by either Hiram Lodge of Pennsylvania.
Right.
Hiram Lodge of Pennsylvania, or it was established by First Independent African Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania. And in the establishment of those lodges, when the National Grand Lodge was formed, those lodges were forced to come together and establish a Grand Lodge. That Grand Lodge was called the United Grand Lodge of New York. And every Grand Lodge that was established during that time was either called Union Grand Lodge or United Grand Lodge, which symbolized the merger between First Independent Grand Lodge of Pennsylvania and Hiram Grand Lodge. What happened after that, a year later, 7 lodges, which used to be part of Hiram, left the National Grand Lodge and reestablished Hiram Grand Lodge. And during that time, they went back to establishing lodges. That actually was the marker at which independent Grand Lodge Masonry got back started in the African American community. And from that point, that was like the focal point of when you had the war between independent and national compact Masons.
Okay.
But I will say that. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm listening. Go ahead.
I would say this to capsulize it this way: all PHA Grand Lodges can only be established, can only be traced back to African Lodge 459 in one way. You have to go through the National Grand Lodge, but this is how all of them were established, either one way or another. Either one, they were established directly by warrant of the National Grand Lodge. 2, they merged with a compact Grand Lodge. Or 3, they have lineage to either the first one or the second one that I said. And that's pretty much it. It's funny you mentioned John T. Hilton. John T. Hilton has PHA lodges named after him. Paul Drayton, who you mentioned, National Grandmaster, their PHA lodges named after him, one in Texas, one in North Carolina. Lewis Hayden, who you hear a lot with PHA Masons say is a great PHA Mason. But he was National Deputy Grand Master as well.
Okay.
So there are a lot of things that are there. Our histories are very, very intertwined, and what happens is that when we get past the wounds of what this particular intellectual war has been, then we can get to the point where we, grow and move forward. But until that time, until we get the education component of it kind of out of the way and all the fiction and myth out of the thing, then we can see where we are. John G. Jones was a compact Mason too. He was under the Grand Lodge of Illinois. The Grand Lodge of Illinois was established by warrant of the National Grand Lodge. And about around the time, 1877, where he was part of the convention in Illinois, he was kind of having a bit of a falling out, and he was kind of leaning towards to the independent side of things. And I will say that a lot of the literature and rhetoric that was going on was leaning towards independent Grand Lodges. Why is that? Because the Black Masons were successful in doing what the White Masons could not do, and that was establishing a National Grand Lodge. The White Masons tried 13 times to establish a National Grand Lodge.
Hey, Chris. Now, as much as I can disagree with you, I'm going to applaud you on that shit. Excuse my language. I'm going to applaud you on that. I keep telling people all the time that our Caucasian counterparts tried to formulate a national grand body. They did that. Like you said, they tried 13 times. But people keep thinking I'm like losing my mind. Man. Go ahead, bro.
I'll take it a step further, too. The only reason that they were not successful, most people think that it was a thing of regularity and being regular or not. It was not even about that. The biggest thing that I saw in my research with regards to why they could not establish a National Grand Lodge was because they were debating over the term York Rite and what York Rite was versus what Scottish Rite was. There was a big war of words between the Masons in Louisiana and Mississippi with regards to that. And that's kind of what made the deal for the National Grand Lodge kind of fall through, because they all had to vote on it. They just didn't get the votes that they needed to establish it.
I'm going to add to that. I'm going to add to that. I read also in Coors Masonic Encyclopedia, 1961, I'm telling you, they also said that they felt that there was too much power for one person to have. It said that as they tried to formulate these various national Grand Lodges, they felt that one person having all that authority was too much. This is something that I read in there. So what you say is in there also, but I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, but the success of establishing the National Grand Lodge, because before the National Grand Lodge was established, all of the Grand Lodges and lodges affiliated with African American Masons were kind of, for lack of a better term, freelancing on their own as far as trying to figure out who they are and what they were doing. And once that meeting was established, it did set forth the network for these other Grand Lodges that are out there to get established. What you'll normally hear is that you'll hear a whole lot of divisive rhetoric when you're listening to maybe a PHA person, not historians, because there are some really, really good PHA historians out there. And I have to shout out Alton Roundtree and some of the others. I definitely have to shout out Brother James Morgan and his book, The Lost Empire, because in that book he actually went into the life of Captain William D. Matthews, and in talking to him, what he got from that research is very, very valuable, because that particular Mason can probably go down as one of the most influential Masons, African American Masons in history, and a lot of PHA Masons owe it to Captain Matthews, because he was the emperor of the Wild Wild West.
He was. And he was that it factor. That man walked around with 2 guns on his side. He was a bad man.
Yeah, absolutely. Matter of fact, here's something that's very, very unique. I've heard, I haven't seen myself because I haven't been to Texas like on Masonic research, but I heard that at the Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Texas, there's a big picture of William Matthews, sitting in their hall. And they pay homage to him, but at the same time, the National Grand Lodge component of it, they kind of have a problem with. They did not join the National Grand Lodge, but Captain Matthews installed the first Grand Lodge officers. The first 3 lodges that established the Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Texas were established by Captain Matthews Grand Lodge, which he was the Grand Master of. It's called King Solomon Grand Lodge of Kansas.
Right. Now, before you go any further, sometimes I like to see what's going on in the chat room. So this brother's here, he said PHO was never part of PHA. PHA come from PHO. PHO was never part of... Oh, okay. I can agree with... I see what he was saying. Okay, he kind of threw me for a loop, but go ahead, brother. My apologies.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Like I said, if you're dealing with it from a historical standpoint and you're reading history, if you go research Grand Lodge proceedings, you're not going to see that term PHO or PHA.
Right.
Like I said, it's just, names that are added to protect the innocent. No, I'm just kidding. Names that were added to say this is us and this is them.
Mm-hmm.
And, but, as I was saying with Captain Matthews, he's one of the most influential African American Masons, period. And for him to be able to travel at the age that he was and helping to establish Grand Lodges, he established Grand Lodges as far west as Seattle, Washington. He established a Grand Lodge there. He was all over the place. He's responsible for establishing Grand Lodge in the state of Georgia. He really had an impact all over. Now, what you'll probably get from PHA guys be like, well, he established Grand Lodges after PHA was there. Yeah, but as you said in your opening statements, he issued his manifesto and he pretty much removed recognition from the independent Grand Lodges that had left. So that's pretty much all I have in a nutshell. So, I'll take, you got any questions or whatever, that's cool.
Well, you know what people are asking, where did I get my information from? So just to let them know that the information I have and what I've gotten is based on research from several different brothers, and their research really goes in depth. And like I've said before we can actually have a real discussion on Black Freemasonry, we must understand we really are cut from the same tree, and the tree roots are buried deep. And before we can say anything, we must say that the National Grand Lodge is the it factor. I recognize that. I know that for myself based on what I've found, based on my own research. And the books that I have, and I found that information in for myself, is just one book I have is the Prince Hall Premier book. Is their own book. Is the PHA Prince Hall Premier book. And this book here was written in 19... This was the original copy was 1925, then 1946, 1949, 1956, 1961. So this copy here was called the Prince Hall Premier, written by Henry H. Wilson. Okay? And it's really an involved book. and I know that some may agree or may not, or may disagree with that, but it's their history. This is something that somebody from that jurisdiction written, and it's for them. And then the next book I have is Core Masonic Encyclopedia, which is not written by anybody black, 1961 version. And then I have my other book, is called The Chor Fremo, which was written in 2014, if I'm not mistaken. And this is by Christopher Tabb from St. John's Grand Lodge, or St. Joseph Grand Lodge out of Texas. It's an 800-page book. And this book goes in depth on the black Freemasonry, and he can tell you exactly where he found his information. So there are plenty of information out there. The ideal is for you who are a part of these various jurisdictions is to go get the information and stop allowing people to tell you who you are. You know, when people talk about PHO, well, they're clandestine. That's a lie. One brother told me this, Brother Christopher Belcher. He said, I told him, I said, a few years ago, I don't know the exact year, I want to say 214, or just a few years ago, the Prince Hall Grand Lodges, or the Grand, whatever they call them, the Council of Grand Masters, is that what they call Prince Hall body, that Congress they have? There was a discussion of recognition between PHO and PHA. Correct me if I'm wrong with that.
There were meetings that happened in 2001. This is the only one that I pretty much know about. In 2001, there was a meeting of the Galaxy Society in Atlanta, and the brother Cedric Lewis, who is now the National Grand Senior Warden, actually helped coordinate a meeting with the National Grand Cabinet and several Grand Masters of PHA. They met at a hotel and they had a discussion about coming together, being a little more unified. And from that meeting, they drafted resolutions. And they drafted resolutions to recognize each other within the Masonic community. It was the way it was written was kind of loosely written, but it was like more of a show of respect. Following that meeting, the National Grand Lodge Cabinet was invited to, I believe it was the Prince Hall Conference of Grand Master session that they had, and they had some discussions there, and the whole paradigm kind of shifted from more of a unity thing to more like you should join us, like PHO should join PHA.
Yeah, we had that same thing here in California, but go ahead.
Yeah, there was some rhetoric going back and forth, and then before it was all said and done, they pretty much went back into their own separate ways and back into their corners. It's funny because one of the persons that was part of the ones who signed that particular document was Deary Vaughn. If you know Deary Vaughn,
wait a minute. You talking about the man Gary Vaughn?
Deary Vaughn signed the document. Hold on, if I can bear with me, I'll actually read the document to you if I can.
If you got it, you can read it. I give you that time.
Got it. I got it. Hold on. You just have to give me a second. But Deary Vaughn was one of the ones who signed it. The Grand Master Alabama was one who signed it. I can't remember the other Grand Master. There might have been about 6 or 7 of them that actually signed it. I'm just trying to pull it from my computer. If I can pull it from my computer, I'll tell you. You can go ahead with what you're on. If I got it, I'll come back and tell you that I got it and I'll read it.
Okay, so what I'm going to say is this, is that for those of you who don't know, the reason why PHA came into existence after they broke away from the National Compact of Grand Lodges, and then in 1944, January, at their particular conference in Arkansas, the reason they changed their name to PHA was to combat other Grand Lodges that was under the banner of Ancient, Free, and Accepted Masons, ancient Free and York Rite Masons. What they said was that they wanted to separate themselves and say that they was more legitimate than any other black Masonic body. Now, this is what they said in their own Prince Hall Premier. This book right here. Okay? This book right here is a Prince Hall Premier book. All right? On page 32. The year of this book is 1956 to be exact. This is a revised edition, and this is by Charlie T. Power. Okay? And I don't know if it's still in existence or not, but this is his book. Okay, and he's the past deputy grandmaster, past grand secretary, and past grand historian for the Grand Lodge of let me see, New York. So if anybody want to have anything they want to pick up, you pick it up with them. All right, go ahead, brother Belcher.
Yeah, I found I'm actually reading it from Alton Roundtree's book. It's a book I think that anybody studying the National Grand Lodge and Prince Hall Origin Freemasonry should actually pick this up. It's the National Grand Lodge and Prince Hall Freemasonry, The Untold Truth by Alton Roundtree. And he has it documented in his book. I have the original. I just can't find it right now. He says this: on March 3rd, 2001, the National Cabinet met with 5 Prince Hall Grandmasters who were attending the Philaxis Society meeting. The PHO and PHA meeting attendees agreed that the 2 Masonic fraternities should begin a dialogue to discuss the needs and concerns of the community. To that end, a resolution was composed as following: be it resolved that the Prince Hall Grand Lodges and the National Grand Lodge have agreed to mutually recognize each other's existence as representatives of the African American Masonic family. Be it further resolved that going forward, our goal will be Masonic fellowship and the upward mobility of the African American community. The resolution was signed by Norman A. Woodard, 33rd degree National Grand Master, PHO. Deary Bond, 33rd degree, Grand Master, Oklahoma, President of the Conference of Prince Hall Grand Masters at that time as well. Reverend Howard L. Woods, 33rd degree, Grand Master of Arkansas, PHA. Andrew F. Cornelius, 33rd degree, Grand Master of Colorado, PHA. William O. Jones, 33rd degree, Grand Master of Alabama, PHA. Reverend Donald C. Wary, 33rd degree, Grand Master of Minnesota, PHA. John D. Jordan Sr., 33rd degree, National Deputy Grand Master, PHO. Belton N. Ferguson, 33rd degree, National Grand Senior Warden, PHO. Clyde Shepard, 33rd degree, National Grand Junior Warden, PHO. Lee Singleton, National Grand Secretary, PHO. Clarence Daniels, 33rd degree, Chairman, National Trustees, PHO. Samuel H. Lawrence, 33rd degree, National Trustee, PHO. And Lois Searchnight, National Trustee, PHO. I will add to that, when I read from Belton Ferguson, Clyde Shepard, Lee Singleton, if you weren't paying attention, those were the three National Grand Masters in succession from 2000. From that point moving forward, Lee Singleton is the current National Grand Master. Clyde Shepard preceded him, and Belton Ferguson preceded him. Alton Roundtree also writes, though the resolution was signed in 2001, it was dismissed very quickly at the Prince Hall Conference of the Grand Masters. The Atlanta resolution died at the conference in May 2001. From there, a committee was set up to determine the pros and cons of recognizing the National Grand Lodge. Many documents were sent to this committee. The committee stated its findings, but the report was not impressive. The report stated that it was up to the jurisdictions to seek fraternal recognition. In 2002, in Las Vegas, the committee findings were not accepted due to a resolution from the Four Corner Conference of Grand Masters region, and that's the PHA Grand Lodges in Arizona, Colorado, Mexico, and Nevada. That resolution stated that if any group sought recognition, their backgrounds would be thoroughly researched before decisions be made. And that was pretty much what came out of that particular meeting in 2001. Recently, I believe either 2011 or 2012, the PHA Conference of Grand Masters actually, by resolution, resolved that they acknowledged the lineage of PHO, the National Grand Lodge.
But here's the thing. You can't deny the lineage of PHO. You can't, because when you talk about the National Compact, that's the beginning. And so my next question would be to you. Do you know anything about the letter of January the 5th, 1825?
January 5th, 1825?
1824, I'm sorry.
I know 1824. Are you talking about the Declaration of Independence of John T. Hilton?
No, that's the one in 1827. I'm talking about the one that was written by Sampson H. Moody, Worshipful Master.
I'm not familiar with that one. I've heard of letters from Moody, but I don't know that one like verbatim as I do the 1827.
So here's what I'm gonna do for you. If you text me your phone number, I would send you a copy of that letter that was written in 1824 to the Grand Lodge of England.
Okay. Gotcha.
I'll send you a copy. It's the original. It says the original in the Grand Lodge files. This is from 1824, sent to the Grand Lodge of England. I'll send you a copy.
That sounds good. We'll do.
Yeah. Because there was two letters. Everybody knew about the famous letter by John T. Hilton, but very few people know about that second letter from Sampson H. Moody.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'll definitely get you a copy. Now, the best encyclopedia on Freemasonry, in my own opinion, from what I have in my archives, in my library, is the 1961 Coors Masonic Encyclopedia, because you and I both know when people get to say revised edition, they leave out a lot of stuff. They don't put in that stuff that they have in that original version. They leave out a lot of stuff. So when books are written, the first edition is the best books to have. The revised version leaves out too much information.
Right. I want to say this as well, before I get off as well. I have to, kind of give a bit of source information regarding this rift as to what history is accurate and what is not concerning PHO and PHA. The main thing is that a lot of the distortions regarding the history center around one particular book, and that book is the official history of Freemasonry amongst colored men, written by William Grimshaw.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
He's kind of the one that propagated this whole thing that the National Grand Lodge shut down. And in that book, it set up the whole framework for the debate that is used today. And Alton Roundtree actually has a book that's supposed to be coming out where he debunks a lot of what William Grimshaw wrote, because he tended to make up a lot of stuff that he did not have information on. And in the same breath, he actually kind of dealt with stuff with the National Grand Lodge that simply was not true. And he actually, there's no way that he could not have, known, that, he had to know that he was not being truthful when he, put that information out. But that information is what most writers followed. So if you read Williamson and some of those other guys, that is what you'll come up with. Now, what happened is that Matthew Brock, who was National Grand Master, he's from Ohio. He's on your list.
Yes.
He was National Grand Lodge historian, and he wrote a book, a history book on the National Grand Lodge. And excuse me, I'm sorry. During that time, he was communicating with some white Masonic researchers out of New York, Cusick, Sherman, and I want to say Boye. That a lot of PHA historians call them the Gang of Three, but they were white Masons who were studying National Grand Lodge as well. And I'm gonna read one more thing for you.
Go for it.
So Matthew Brock was actually researching, and he made contact with Edward Cusick, who was a New York historian, and he was researching the National Grand Lodge. And this is when it started to break, where people were understanding that National Grand Lodge did not shut down. Hold on one second. Let me take a quick sip of water. So I apologize.
Oh no, go ahead. In the mere fact that the National Grand Lodge didn't shut down is what we really need to consider, because you're still here. And I keep telling brothers all the time that it never shut down. And I don't know why that's so hard to figure out.
Okay, so this is the letter from Cusick, the white researcher out of New York, to Matthew Brock, who was National Grand Historian, and he actually was a National Grand Master too. And it's dated April 15th, 1957, and it states it's to the illustrious Matthew Brock, lists his address, 831 St. Clair Avenue, Columbus, Ohio. And it says, "Dear friend Brock, your letter of April 12th, 1957 has reached me, and I'm glad to hear from you. Thank you for assuring me that the Eureka Grand Lodge of Ohio was established October 14th, 1896 by the late Captain William D. Matthews, and that Lorenzo D. Woods was the first Grand Master. Have you the Grand Lodge records intact from October 14th, 1896? Please let me know. As you expressed the desire to have the facts to prove that the National Grand Lodge was not dissolved in 1877, I shall, in summary, present them to you." William H. Grimshaw, in his book, Official History of Freemasonry Among Colored People in North America, page 192, writes, "Resolved that the National Grand Lodge, or Compact Grand Lodge, is, and the same is hereby declared forever void." Grimshaw did not state where the original resolution could be found, and to the best of my knowledge, it is not to be found. But the so-called resolution on examination produces grave suspicion. Any fraternal body might dissolve itself, but it is inconceivable that any organization body or of 30 years standing is deliberately going to declare itself irregular and unheard of body of Masonry. Grimshaw says that this so-called action was taken in Wilmington, Delaware in 1877. After long investigation, we can report that Grimshaw's statement will not stand the light of research and the known facts. It is known that the National Grand Lodge held a convention not in Wilmington, Delaware in 1877, but in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was held from Tuesday, May 15th, 1877 to Friday, May 18th, 1877. Fortunately, a Pittsburgh newspaper reported on the convention. In the Pittsburgh Gazette of May 18th, 1877, page 4, column 3, is reported this valuable news. And he goes on to list he actually gives the article where it mentions the National Grand Lodge holding a session in 1877, and he mentioned who was elected. George W. Levere was elected National Grand Master. I'm not going to read the actual newspaper article, but I'm just going to continue with this letter. The most remarkable man in this group mentioned in the Pittsburgh newspaper is Samuel Van Brackle. It has been said that he received a degree in 1818.
Whoa.
There's no doubt that he was one of the founders of the National Grand Lodge in Boston in 1847. Thus, his presence at this Pittsburgh convention in May of 1877 and his presiding over the session gives it a validity that the so-called state rights or independent Prince Hall bodies cannot refute. This newspaper item alone should forever silence the proponents and advocates of the claim that the National Grand Lodge was dissolved in 1877.
Wow.
But we will present Ohio, now known as the Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Ohio. In its transactions for 1878 and 1880, we find conclusive proof that the National Grand Lodge was not dissolved in 1877. From the Grand Master's address of the Colored Grand Lodge of Ohio, now the Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Ohio, delivered in date on August 21st, 1878, we extract, and this is from the Prince Hall proceedings from 1878. In my last annual address, I called to your attention to two calls for a convention of colored masons in the interest of union and great fraternity or feeling between the Grand Lodges of this country. The first call was signed by about 70 brethren representing nearly every state in the Union, Chicago being selected as the place of the meeting, and September 4th, 1877, second call, as you remember, was upon authority and officially by the National Grand Lodge. The convention was to be held in Wilmington, Delaware on May 8th, 1878. Both of these meetings were held pursuant to call. That's from the Prince Hall Grand Lodge proceedings of 1878. And what the thing was, there was another meeting, which is a whole nother discussion in itself, the 1878 Wilmington, Delaware Convention, because that was a meeting of independent and state rights.
So
I get that to you.
I'm going to share this with you, and you can team in and kind of enlighten me. I'm going to say this: it is not that Prince Hall, period, received a charter from the Grand Lodge of England. That's not the discussion. What we're saying here tonight, for those of you who may not know, we're saying that when you talk about masonry, black masonry, you must talk about the National Compact of Grand Lodges. Period. That's what I'm saying here tonight. I'm also saying that the National Grand Lodge issued charters to other Grand Lodges. Period. In order for the African Lodge, number 459, if I'm not mistaken, in order for it to become part of the National, it broke off into three lodges, or three. It created itself into a Grand Lodge, if I'm not mistaken, brother. Christopher, you can correct me if I'm wrong, in order to become part of the National.
Right.
And then, as we know it today, things began to take form, to take shape. So anybody can say what they want to say, but you can't dismiss, you cannot dismiss the National Compact of Grand Lodges. You could take it or let it alone. You cannot dismiss it. You can't.
Well, I'll do you one. I'll do you a solid on this one. The letter keeps, it goes on and on. It pretty much, makes the point with regards to the National Grand Lodge not shutting down in 1877. But I'll give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Prince Hall affiliated Grand Lodges that were established by warrant of the National Grand Lodge. I can actually give you, wait, hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll give you 9. The Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Massachusetts was established in April 1848 by a warrant of the National Grand Lodge. That's a fact. The Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Ohio was established by a National Grand Lodge warrant. The Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Ontario, Canada was established by warrant of the National Grand Lodge. Matter of fact, that Grand Lodge, for people who just seen Harriet, when the Fugitive Slave Act took place and they were getting people out of the United States so they wouldn't be captured and put back into slavery, they ended up in Ontario, Canada. And it just so happened that a National Grand Lodge established a Grand Lodge there. The Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Indiana. The Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Illinois. We discussed that one before. Established in 1867 by warrant of the National Grand Lodge. The Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Kentucky was established by a National Grand Lodge warrant. The Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of the District of Columbia was established by a National Grand Lodge warrant. The Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of North Carolina was established by a warrant of the National Grand Lodge. Here's one. The Most Worshipful Stringer Grand Lodge.
That's Mississippi, baby.
Yeah, Brother Stringer was a national district deputy grand master.
Okay.
It was influential. It was influential in the Ohio Freemasons.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you, Stringer had a lodge. They had a Masonic lodge on the campus next to Tougaloo College in Mississippi. That was my first. That was one of my first encounters in 1982 with Freemasonry when I was in Mississippi. Okay. Then my next encounter was I was working with a mental health institution, and a brother introduced me and asked me, in regards to becoming a Mason. That's before I came out here. So I had my application in, and I'm like wondering, damn, what would have become of me? I'm like, I'd have been messed up. But go ahead, bro. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and like I said, I'll go back. When you talk about lineage to African Lodge 459, all Grand Lodges with lineage to African Lodge 459 are established in either of the following ways. Okay? Either A, it was established by Warren of the National Grand Lodge. I read a few of those to you. B, by 3 lodges that were established as National Grand Lodge subordinates. So that you got A, you got B. C, by merger as equals, meaning that there were mergers that happened and they recognized each other as being equal when going into that merger.
Right.
Of course, they became independent when they went into that merger.
Uh-huh.
So you're either established by A, Warren, the National Grand Lodge, by B, 3 lodges that were National Grand Lodge subordinate, C, by mergers of independent and National Grand Lodge subordinate Grand Lodges, or D, you got lineage to either A, B, or C. So there's no way. You cannot go around. You cannot dig a tunnel under. The only way you can draw lineage to African Lodge 459, you have to go through the National Grand Lodge. And that poses a lot of problems to people who are proponents of the position that the National Grand Lodge has nothing to do with PHA history. There's no way you can cut it, no way you can draw the line. Lineage, the root of the word lineage is the word line. And the only way you can do it is you got to go through the National Grand Lodge.
You have to.
It's unfortunate that, the education is not getting where it is. I mean, you have your social media debates, but they normally end up being a shouting match where it turns from being the discussion about trying to be educated to a thing where it becomes personal. And you and I can probably attest to that. There's a lot that I know, me personally, that I've had to endure just trying to live my passion as far as history goes. So, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I'll say this, and I'm going to kind of cut it short because I got to start setting myself up to be ready for work on tomorrow.
All right, well,
I thank you for giving me a forum to say, because a lot of people just see what I text or what I put on social media and probably have never in their life even had a conversation with me. So for that, I would say thank you for allowing me to give my positions and tell you what I've researched. And if anybody is willing to want to know more, by all means, they can reach out to me on Facebook. They can email me. My email address is bsidepro, BSIDEPRO @yahoo.com. If I have proceedings or whatever, if you want to get your hands on that, you want to talk to me, whatever, feel free to hit me up there. And that's pretty much it. Again, I thank you. Oh, I have to plug my book too. I did a PHO history book in the state of Georgia.
Right.
Making rough edges.
Yeah.
Hit me up on that if you want to get that as well. I suggest that there is a lot of good books that are coming out. There's a lot of good books that are out. Alton Roundtree got several books out, and he's a good PHA brother. Brother James Morgan, PHA has a book coming out. I'm working on my second book, which is a 3-part volume on the history of the National Grand Lodge.
Oh wow!
I have to do it in 3 parts. Yeah, I want to keep it in. I want to do it in 3 volumes so that I'll keep the size of it down, so you can, digest one part before going to another. And hopefully, we can get through with this first volume quickly.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it. Again, I want to say thank you to everybody that was watching and listening. I'm glad I got in. I had just come in the house when you went on the air.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, I have 2 pages going. I have a Facebook Live going, and I have the John G. Jones Research on the YouTube going. And so I have, with both of those, you are getting hits either way. So definitely, I want to say thank you for coming on, because I know it's late on your time right now. So, I appreciate you, giving a call and actually breaking down some things that most of us probably would not have known. I mean, let's just face it. A lot of us just don't indulge ourselves in history and how we get from point A to point B. That's including my brothers who are part of the John G. Jones family. And that's true, because there are many Grand Lodges under that umbrella. They just, they are part of what we call the General Grand Masonic Congress. And that's going to be one of my up-and-coming shows, too. How did we get to where we're at? So I just personally want to say thank you for coming on myself.
Oh, not a problem at all. Not a problem at all.
So as we get ready to go tonight, I just want to thank everybody for coming on. And Brother Christopher, I just want to say thank you. And I just want to give a shout out right now to the only child. Boy, he says, boy, I'm reading some of your messages here. Oh, wow. John Teller. I want to say Philip Jackson. Who else I see? P.R. Corey. Wow, it's quite a few people on tonight. I just want to say thank you to everybody. My administrator, thank you, Brother Jackson, for holding down the front. The topic tonight was about PHO. Do they still exist? Yes, they still exist. You heard it from a member tonight, a great historian in their particular body. So we just want to let you know we try to cover all topics. And I would love to have me an international brother on or a modern free brother on to discuss their history and where they're at, because we must understand, no matter what happens, we're really in the same boat. I mean, you could say whatever you want to say about who you recognize by, but when it all comes down, when the lights goes out, we're in the same boat. So just William, what's up, Woodson? What's going on? This is a live feed, is now seen across the country on my Facebook page. Welcome, I appreciate you there, brother. And I want to send another shout out to Philip Jackson, if I hadn't already done that. West Lisbon, Lisbon, are non-Mason allowed here? Yes, sir. Yes, whoever you are. Yes, non-Masons are on here tonight. I want to send a big shout out to my brother, Grandmaster Larry Diamond. I'm going to have to give you a call as soon as I'm done, brother, so we can discuss primitive rights as you have already requested. Also, who else? Widow's Son, what's going on? I want to give you a big shout out. Brother New Era King, I know we don't always disagree. We agree to disagree sometimes, but I love you. I love John G. Jones. No shrine without him. I'm just going back. I'm just giving shout outs as I go, because, without you, there's no us. Just want to let you know that. Who else? Who else on here? Calvin, what's going on with you? Alton Roundtree, book, Prince Hall Freemasonry, the National Grand Lodge tells the complete story with preceding minutes to provide. Okay, all right. All right, Calvin, what's going on with you? Calvin, are you the brother that got kicked out of that Prince Hall group? You can hit me back and let me know. I wonder, are you the brother that got kicked out of the Prince Hall group for discussing certain topics? Oh my God. Oh man, that was, woo, I seen that. I was like, how could you kick another Prince Hall brother out of the same group? He's your brother. I'm just saying, I just want to know if he's the guy. All right, we have PHO show force on making good men better. All right, appreciate that. Let's see who else. Widow Son, what's up? Alex Fitzgerald. Hey, bruh, I told you that PHO exists. I don't know why you thought that they didn't exist, bruh. Somebody lied to you. Just so you know, brother Alex. Somebody lied to you. All right, what else we got? John Teller, what's up? Greetings. All right, who else? Randolph Teller, what's up, bruh? Jason Henry, what's up? So, hey, I've sent enough shout outs tonight. Please hit the like button, the thank you button, whatever that thumbs up button is, hit that. Share this video with someone to let them know, look, this is a different vibe. This is a different channel. We're not like other brothers, other channels. You know, this is unscripted. So if you hear a dog barking, if you hear my grandchild come in, if you hear my wife call my name, it is what it is. So whatever you do, please keep your light on, stay out the bushes. I appreciate you all. Peace and be well.